Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Jill Brennan. I'm a Reconnective Healing practitioner and a reconstructing Christian. That was quite funny. I nearly said recovering Christian, which is probably true also, and maybe the right thing to say because it may resonate with somebody watching. Yeah, my background is Christianity. I was brought up in a Christian family, and then as I grew up, I had my own questions, my own experience that was real, but also wanting to figure it all out in my head. So I studied at university, went and did a degree in theology, and then I became an ordained minister of religion in an evangelical church, and then I did a master's degree in theology. Why am I saying all this? Not to show off, but just to point out that I kind of get it. You know, I know Christianity inside out from both experientially as an attendee, and also someone who's studied theology and knows the doctrine and all the creed and everything and all what the theologians say about it all. And it's important that I say that because this channel is all about having permission to say anything and everything. Just get it all off your chest, be real and true. And I know that that'll be liberating for some people, but it'll also be triggering for others, depending on who clicks on the thumbnail. I'm going to call this video "Why Belief in God is Bad for Your Mental Health," or "The Problem with Christianity." I think it's going to be the first one, but it could equally be the second one, because the problem with Christianity is duality. And I'm going to come back to that. That's going to be the topic that we're going to discuss today. But it's going to attract people who just want permission to say what they're really thinking, but it's taboo to say that. It's also going to attract the apologists who are going to come in and think they can come into this space to start preaching and telling people what they have to believe, and judging and saying you need to repent. I've had it all before. There's nothing you can say that I haven't heard before, and quite frankly, it's boring. And I haven't got time for it. I could spend hours debating with you, but I'm just not. That's not the use of this space. So if you have come in with a mind to do that, you can toddle off and go and, old wine skins, go and do your whining somewhere else. Now, I'm being quite firm on this because, I'm really wanting to reach the people that need permission to not have all that BS thrown at them. And by BS, I mean belief system. We've grown up with it, we know it, we've been indoctrinated with it, we are setting ourselves free from it, we're being real here. Some of us may be deconstructing, you've got permission to do that. Some may just never have really had anything to do with Christianity, but be interested. And, there's all sorts you'll find out there on YouTube. And there are very many different varieties of Christianity, as you'll soon come to see. Well, here we're just getting real. We're going to make sure it matches our life experience. And we're going to talk openly and honestly about the problems that we have with it. Because if you have a problem with it, it's probably the same for someone else. Well, my big problem with it is that when we are children, we're taught in a certain way. And perhaps there's good reason for that. When we're children, we're taught that God is saddened by sin. Sin makes God sad. And that when we are obedient to God and do the right thing, then God is pleased with us. All right. Now, really, what's happening, in the same way that children are taught very simply about things, and they have to have concrete. They don't cope with abstractions very well, so they have to have concrete ideas. So by saying God and He, they're able to process that. And what we're really doing is establishing the conscience, fine-tuning it so that we're making clear that this is your conditioning behavior, aren't we? And we're spiritualizing it so the conscience within is activated. It's alive and well. It's healthy. So we all have this conscience, I believe, and that's because we're souls, and the soul is a fractal of the divine. It's the divine having an experience. We are made in the image of God, according to the Bible, according to Genesis narrative. Now, you wouldn't think that if you went into churches, because what you get is you get God made in the image of man. They turn it round the other way and they project anthropomorphic behaviour, ideas, attitudes onto God. So this idea that God is pleased with us sometimes and is not at other times, like this idea of this man, old man in the sky, this being that, sits there and smiles upon us or frowns upon us and wags his finger, is something that people carry on into their adulthood. Even people who go to Bible school, you can sit and watch videos of men, grown men, who are like PhDs and stuff. Not always men, sometimes women. Thinking of Doreen Virtue here. People who, as an example, who are fundamentalists, and they actually still seem to have this really strong dualistic idea. God is out there. God has an opinion on your life. God is happy when you do this, and he's displeased, and he's angry or judges, and he's a jealous God, and all of this. They believe it quite literally. And not seeing the inconsistencies in their theology, their logic on that. If God is a man, if God is a being that is macro managing all the 7 billion souls on the planet, and he's happy sometimes and sad the other, and looking at all the things that are happening, the war, the war, the killing, the abuse, the rape, the greed, the injustices, all of it. And then people's praise on a Sunday when, that really makes him pleased. It's going to be up and down, isn't it? It's going to be like needs counselling, neurotic, like smoking woodbines in his cloud on the sky. It's not logical, because God is unchanging, immortal. So where does all that idea come from that God is sad sometimes and happy the other? It doesn't make sense. It's just not real. It's not real because it's not true. It doesn't exist. And if you believe that literally, it'll mess your head up. Really mess your head up. You need to let go of that idea. You don't need to do anything. You can do what you want. But I'm just saying, this has been my experience. Because we never say, in church, you'll never get somebody telling you that you can outgrow that idea. Teach it to children for the reasons perhaps that I've explained, but you never are encouraged to let go of it. It's like they keep you as children all the way through. It never becomes something more abstract and internalized and therefore non-dual. That's what should happen. That's the progression that should happen as we grow into maturity. But no, maybe there are reasons for that. Maybe some people are invested in you still believing in a narcissist because narcissists control, and it's coercive and controlling. But if that were a parent, it wouldn't be a good parent, would it? It wouldn't be a good parent that keeps you always checking. Can I do this? What should I do with my life? Can I do this? Can I do that? The parent would eventually say, "Do you make your choices. Grow up, stand on your own 2 feet now. Go off into the world." Instead, we're just always told that God requires our obedience, and God requires this and that from us. And if you are like me, as you get into your adulthood and you're thinking about what to do with your life and big choices about big decisions, who to marry, what career to do and where to live and all things like that, you might be praying and asking God, because you still have that dualistic idea in your head. I need to seek God's will on this. I'll pray harder. Please show me your will. Show me your way. And I did that. I have spoken about this before with people who know me and follow my channel, but I'm going to say it here because I think that maybe, all the time new people will come to it, new people may watch this video. And I was pleading, and there was something I was wrestling with, thinking that I really want to do this. I can feel that this is what I really want, but I'm not sure if it's God's will. And so I had this struggle going on. Totally unnecessary now, I realise. But at the time, I thought it was a case of saying, if it's your will, then help me to suppress and overcome my own desires. Take them away so I don't feel them anymore, so I can be obedient to you. And eventually he just said to me, enough is enough. What do you want? What do you want? I was like, what do you mean, what do I want? That's not what I expected you to say. It doesn't work like that. I want to know your will for my life. Dualistic. I was arguing duality with God, who was trying to say to me, what do you want? And at the time, because I was so indoctrinated with dualism, I took it to mean that God was letting me off for a little bit, giving me a concession and saying, okay, I can see you're a bit of a wimp and a bit flaky. You can't really follow and obey me. So as a concession to your weakness, then if you do what you want, because he said to me, what do you want? And I told him what I wanted. And he said, well, that's what I want then. And instead of understanding that as it was really intended, which I now see, which is, well, that's what I want then, because you've got the wrong idea about me, girl. I'm not someone on a cloud wanting to control you like some narcissist, some sociopath, that demands obedience. I'm actually just you, your higher aspect of you. And your soul, the soul that has the overall plan and understanding of the overall plan. So what is it that you want? Well, that's okay then, because that's what I want. Because if you really want it and desire it, you're probably aligned with your soul purpose and path. And I realise now that that is exactly the way I understand it. And I'm at this place where I've deconstructed and allowed myself to let go of Jehovah on a cloud with his woodbines, and start to I'm not being blasphemous, I'm not deliberately meaning to offend. Sometimes you have to see it in a comic way to realise how stupid it is. Yeah. And yet we believe it unconsciously, subconsciously. We carry that belief through, and it makes us unhappy because we're never allowed to live our own lives and grow up. And yet that's what God says. He says, for goodness sake, grow up. Take responsibility for your life. It's your life. You've been given this opportunity. You've been given incarnation. You chose it. Now live it. And so, you say, well, if God doesn't exist, then, isn't that atheism? No, it's not, because the way I understand it is God is this soul. And the soul that is me is God perfectly customized for my life. Let me explain what I mean. In Hinduism, I think they have this idea of Atman and Jiva. I think it's Atman and Jiva. Two aspects of the soul. One aspect remains in the transcendent space plane, in the spiritual world, realms. And the other is the incarnated aspect of the soul. And the two are kind of connected still. They're in dialogue with each other. And I like that idea, and I think it aligns with what's been spoken about in Psalm 139, if you want to pin it on something biblical, where it says, you have searched me and you know me. Oh God, you have searched me and you know me. You know me completely. You know my going in and my coming out. You before a word is on my lips, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before. Every day of my life has been written in your book. All of this before one of them came to be. If I go down to the depths, you are there. If I go up to the heights, you are there. Where can I escape from your presence? That's because it's the soul. It's you. It's the higher aspect of you that we're talking to there. But because it's framed in dualistic language, it says, oh my God. So we're saying God as if we're talking to the Lord projected out there. But it could be equally, oh my soul. Myself, my higher self, not the little separate self that understands me to be Jill and sees me as separate from everybody else and is at this, side of the veil and doesn't have the full picture. So of course, when I come up against difficulties in life or I'm wanting direction, I want to see the full picture. So I pray to God. What am I really doing? I'm asking my soul. I'm saying, give me clarity on this. Help me out here. And the soul says, yeah, of course, I'm here for you. We're here for you. Your guidance is available. And that's the reconstruction of God, of belief. that's where I'm at now. But I don't think you can get there without deconstructing first. And for some people, they have to walk away for some time, because that dualistic understanding can be toxic. It can be very damaging. It's coercive, it's manipulating, it's abusive. And people who have experienced spiritual abuse through living in fear, through living with the belief that they have to be controlled and they have to be at war with themselves, and they have to be constantly sacrificing and not being true to themselves and denying themselves, are crippled. You know, it's a crippling. I mean, it prevents you from growing. It's like being made to wear a shoe, and then your foot's growing and you've got to still keep pushing your foot in this shoe that you've really outgrown, and it's crippling you. Painful. Unhealthy. It really is for the soul, and the soul is the psyche. The word soul in Greek is psyche, which is psychology, which is mental health. Soul illness, it's not good if you have bad theology. And dualistic Christianity is toxic. It's not toxic if you outgrow it at the right time, if you change your shoes and get a different pair that fit properly. But if you carry on trying to take it through into your maturity in order, you'll just get depressed. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to friends and colleagues. And sometimes people just say, well, that's it, I've done with it, I'm going. And then I had to do that too for a while. Well, for a good 10, 15 years. But you come home to your soul. And then your soul starts to say, hey, you know what? It's not all wrong, all this stuff that's in the Bible. The Bible is a handbook for the soul. Take a look at it again. Let's look at it again in a different, new light. Let's look at Jesus again. You know, you don't have... When you're deconstructing, you have to let go of a lot of stuff that you were told about Jesus. But then are you going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? Or do you actually start to think, you know, he knew what he was talking about and I want to learn from him? For example, when he was in the garden and he's saying, this is tough, I'm struggling now. But never... If possible, I really don't want to have to go through this, but nevertheless, your will, not mine. What is he talking to? Is he talking to chain smoker up there? Or is he talking to the higher aspect of his soul that knows the plan and purpose for his life? Of course it makes sense that it's the second, because he needed to fulfill this purpose that he came in for, just as you and I do. And to have a successful life, you have to have a Christed life, Jesus Christ, and just means taking sovereignty, having sovereign will over your life. So remembering why you came while you're here and fulfilling your purpose. And that's really about communing with your soul, being perfectly aligned with your higher aspect, with your divine nature, with the divine in you. Human and the divine. Some things about Christianity, even when we go back to the creed, he was completely human and completely divine. It's absolutely true. What they don't tell you is, just as you are completely human and completely divine, and waking up to that and realizing that is to be a Christed soul, where you're sovereign and you live your life to the full as you're meant to live it, not handing your power away to other people, to a fictional character that exists outside of yourself, which is really giving your power away to other people who are wanting to manipulate and control how you think and how you live your life. So lots more that we can talk about. I hope this has just resonated in some way, that if you're watching this video, you've been led to it by the title, and it may just have raised more questions for you. If so, please do ask in the comments. We can always pick up some themes. Is there anything you want to ask me about anything that I've said? Or just explain about something that you're going through. And yeah, just talking about it. I want that to be what my channel is about. A safe place for people who are on this journey, navigating a new way of understanding being a Christian, and seeing that and understanding it in a more non-dual way. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care, God bless, bye for now.